Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Cathedral. The Sunshine Cathedral is a different kind of church where the past is past and the future has infinite possibilities. And with that, we invite you to come and worship with us here on Sunday mornings at 9 and 10:30 a.m. at 1480 Southwest 9th Avenue. Now, I invite you to come in and worship with us here at the Sunshine Cathedral.
Our first reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 29. Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah's eyes were lovely, and Rachel was graceful and beautiful. Jacob loved Rachel, so he said to Laban, "I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It is better that I give her to you than I should give her to any other man. Stay with me." So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife, that I may go into her, for my time is completed." So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. But in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he went into her. Laban gave him his maid Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her maid. When morning came, it was Leah, and Jacob said to Laban, "What is this that you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" Laban said, "This is not done in our country, giving the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other also in return for serving me another 7 years." Jacob did so and completed her week. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel as wife. In these human words, God's voice is heard.
A reading from the Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, indwelling Christ.
Jesus put before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that someone took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of seeds, but when it has grown, it is the greatest of shrubs and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in with 3 measures of flour until all of it was leavened. And still another. The kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and caught fish of every kind. When it was full, they drew it ashore, sat down, put the good into baskets, and threw out the bad. So it will be at the end of age. The angels will come out and separate the evil from the righteous and throw them into the furnace of fire. In these human words, God's voice is heard.
Take heed and be comforted.
Drink and remember too,
that you are the hand that will feed the world with His truth, in remembrance
this in remembrance of me. In remembrance of me.
Well, the readings today, I wish they were different. I'll just say that. Yeah, I mean, that fish thing with the net, and you get all kinds of fish, and then you take it home, and you throw out some, and you keep some, and I mean, it sounds like my single life, when I would just drag home anything and then, chase out the ones that didn't work out. But that's, I don't know how to really parlay that into a message, except that just like that works sometimes in the way we relate with each other, it also is how our thoughts work. We have so many thoughts that we just collect, all kinds of thoughts. Some of them were put there before we were even capable of thinking for ourselves. And so we heard messages that were bizarre, that were strange. We heard that we were innately flawed. We heard that things were supposed to be difficult. We heard that life was hard and money doesn't grow on trees and kids should be seen and not heard. And we heard all of this stuff, and it got internalized, and all of that was caught up in the net. And now we later have to fish out what are the things we want to keep and what are the things we want to throw out, throw into the fire to just burn up so that we're left only with what is healthy and helpful and useful. We want to purify all of those thoughts that are unworthy of us, that drag us down, that hold us back, that make us believe that we're not good enough or we don't deserve good in our lives or that life is somehow stacked against us. We heard that. We heard that from pulpits. We heard that from families. We heard that in classrooms. And so the net was cast, and we just caught all of that along with some good stuff. But now our job is to separate the good from the bad and to throw that bad out so that we're left only with the good. Well, how do you do that? How do you separate all the old messages and keep just the ones that are good for us? Well, the story that we heard, Twyla read, the first one from the book of Genesis, actually gives us some clues. But that story is it picks up in the middle of a story. It's a bigger story. And the story really begins with Abraham. So if we're going to understand that story and understand how it can be liberating for us, we have to put it in its larger context of Abraham and his crazy Jerry Springer-like family. And when we go far enough back to see Abraham and how damaged he was, by the time we get to Laban and Jacob, we see that actually they've made some improvement over the two generations. And that's the way it works, isn't it? That we just have to keep working and getting better. So we start with Abraham. Abraham is the patriarch, the founder, if you will, of the people of the Hebrew Scriptures. Now, I tend to think of Abraham more of a mythic character than a historic person, but he is nevertheless the fundamental figure of the ancient Jewish story. Abraham, in the story anyway, is not the most stable of people. He is terribly flawed. He might be considered an anti-hero. For instance, there's a time that he is traveling with his wife Sarah, and a local potentate notices Sarah, like you do, when heads of state, they just look out the window sometimes and just see random strangers walking by, and they think, oh, hey, isn't she nice? So they're traveling. This local potentate sees Sarah, says, oh, she's so beautiful. Now, we read a few verses later that Sarah's 90, so I don't know if this is how much time elapsed between that and her being 90, or if she was just a really stunning 90-year-old person. But in any case, the potentate sees her, desires her, and so how Abraham handles that is he just, sells her to him and says she's his sister and he can have her, for a dowry. And he takes the money, and that's how he gets rich, and that's what is known as the blessing of Abraham. And then he later retrieves her. It's true. Now, he later retrieves her because the potentate realizes, oh, wait, she wasn't really up for grabs. She wasn't single. I wonder why he said she was his sister. So he summons him back and says, I figured out this is your wife. You need to take her back. He takes her back. There's no record of him returning the money. And and on they go with their lives. And one wonders if Sarah ever really trusted him again after that. Be Sarah for a minute in the story, And in Sarah's eyes, Abraham doesn't come off the hero just yet. Well, later, Abraham compels his wife's maid Hagar to bear him a son, Ishmael. But then when his wife, his stunningly beautiful 90-year-old wife Sarah, conceives a child, happened. When his 90-year-old wife Sarah conceived, then Hagar and Ishmael, they have to go. They have to go. And so he kicks the servant woman out with their child. Now he's still rich from selling his wife those years ago, but he kicks them out without even a sack lunch. And so they're abandoned to starve in the desert. Now, they do survive, Hagar and Ishmael, but no thanks to Abraham. Well, the son that Abraham has with his wife Sarah is Isaac. And when Isaac is still pretty young, Abraham begins to suffer some pretty major delusions because, he has been a rock of stability up until then. Well, he starts having these delusions that he thinks God is talking to him. And not only is God trying to chat him up, but what God is saying to him, he imagines, is that he should slaughter his child to prove his loyalty to God. Why not? Now, when it comes down to it, when poor Isaac is tied to this thing, to this altar, and the knife is raised, and he's going to kill him and then set him on fire because basically sacrifices double as barbecues. And so when he's going to kill the child and set him ablaze, suddenly he imagines that really an angel is whispering to him, no, don't do that, kill some animal instead. So Abraham decides that instead of killing his child, God would be just as satisfied with a slaughtered ram. But Abraham's God needs something slain, let there be no doubt. Now, of course, we're told that we are made in the image of God, but also we imagine God in our own image also. So if we are bloodthirsty and angry and insecure, our God might be angry and bloodthirsty and insecure. And so, of course, damaged Abraham has a damaged God, and people do damage in the name of a damaged and damaging God. Well, one can only imagine the damage done to young Isaac's psyche as he is marched up to an altar to be slaughtered, only to be told at the last possible minute, just kidding, Isaac can't be right ever again. Now, if Sarah forgave her husband for selling her to another man, surely she was less forgiving when she realized her husband was willing to kill her only and late-in-life child. You have gone through labor at the age of 90, and now you want to kill my baby? This marriage can't be happy, ever again, if it ever was. If we had never been told that Abraham was a hero, when reading the text, we would rightly conclude that he was a menace. Well, despite having an epically horrendous father, Isaac does survive to adulthood. I don't know that he just survives to be sane, but he does survive to adulthood. And he marries a woman named Rebekah, and they have twins, Esau and Jacob. Now, Esau is a rough and tumble kind of guy, and Jacob likes staying in the tents and cooking and hanging out with his mother. Jacob is the Nelly one. Now, because Esau was born a couple of minutes before Jacob, he's the older twin. And as the oldest son, the birthright by custom is his. He's the firstborn. He gets everything. Now, one day, the adult Esau comes in from hunting, as butch Esau is wont to do, and he discovers Jacob making a culinary masterpiece. And he asks for some. And Jacob proposes a trade. A bowl of his tasty stew for Esau's birthright. I'll give you lunch if you give me everything. Well, Esau may be a pretty good hunter, but what he doesn't know about a good deal is a lot. Nellie Jacob is the bargain shopper, clearly. But still, the swap is made. Cut to Isaac. Old Isaac on his deathbed. He is ready to give his blessing and his inheritance to Esau. But with the help of Rebekah, Jacob disguises himself as Esau and receives the blessing from Isaac, though in reality he had purchased it with a cup of soup in earlier days. When Jacob claims the blessing, Esau, you might imagine, becomes angry about it, and the two become estranged for many years, mostly because Esau, who is good with a bow and arrow, wants to kill him. So Jacob is on the lam. Now remember, Abraham, in addition to this wife-swapping deal he's got going on, and this child-killing thing going on, and this child with a maid thing going on, and then kicking them out to starve, in addition to all of this character-building material, remember that he's also got a nephew named Lot, and that apple didn't fall far from the tree. We heard a few weeks ago about Lot being willing to sacrifice his daughters to a violent mob in order to protect strangers. And later he fathers children with these same daughters in a cave. This family is a mess from start to finish. This family makes every family we come out of look good. Maybe that's why it's in the Bible, to make us all feel better about our lives. These people are a mess. Well, Abraham sacrifices his wife and later his son Ishmael and attempts to sacrifice his son Isaac. His nephew Lot is willing to sacrifice his daughters. His son Isaac is willing to abandon his younger son Jacob, thinking he only has enough love for Esau. And even so, Esau doesn't love himself enough to know that his self-worth is more than a cup of soup. I'm so tired of people sacrificing their dignity in the name of religion. I'm so tired of people sacrificing their children in the name of religion. I am so tired of people sacrificing other people's children, even at the border, in the name of religion. I'm so tired. I am so tired of oppressive theologies that insist that God requires human sacrifice. I'm tired of children being bullied. I'm tired of homes being torn apart. I'm tired of people spending their entire lives wrestling with what will happen to them in the afterlife because they just assume that God is willing to sacrifice them. And why wouldn't they? Their own parents did, or whoever, their own church did, their own society did. I'm so tired of the needless sacrifices. I'm tired of any message other than one that says that God is love and love never sacrifices those who are loved. That's the message that we've got to reclaim. Now, this sacrificing, this anger management problem, and this outrageous behavior and this family dysfunction, this has been going on a long time. But we don't need to celebrate the violence. We can honor the stories in our scripture and still think critically about them. When I heard this story as a child, it was told just right alongside with Daffy and Donald and Goofy and Robin Hood and Cinderella and Lot and Abraham just selling his wife and killing his kid and what? And if we are told that that sort of behavior is heroic, what would we ever believe is reprehensible? And so, of course, we spend the rest of our lives with all of the fish we have caught in our nets trying to dispose of the garbage so that we keep only that will nurture and sustain us. Abraham and Sarah, Lot and Mrs. Lot and their poor children, Isaac and Rebekah and their poor children, Esau and Jacob. This dysfunctional family, full of deceit and madness and rage and trickery and triangulation, suffers a lot of pain, and the cycles of dysfunction are passed down from one generation to the next. But that's not how it has to be. Eventually, someone has to say enough and dare to imagine a better way and allow the better way to manifest. And maybe we, as inheritors of the story, we are the ones to insist that there is a better way. And we are the ones to find it. And we are the ones to live into it, leaving the religion-inspired cruelty that has plagued our world behind us and living instead into the power of hope, the hope of healing and renewal that Jesus called the kingdom of God. We are here not to worship the past and not to praise human error, but to rise above it by affirming our sacred value and coming together as the blessed community and as a gathering of seekers who wish to usher in a divine realm of justice, love, and optimism and peace. We are here to be gathered up in that inclusive divine net, and then to help each other get rid of all of those fish in our heads that were keeping us from being happy, healthy, and whole. The background of Jacob's family is important when we consider today's story, the story that Twyla read. Remember, Jacob's grandfather Abraham pimped out his grandmother Sarah, banished his uncle Ishmael when Ishmael was just a child, attempted to slaughter his own father Isaac, and his father favored his brother Esau over him, and his brother Esau wanted to kill him. And that's before we get to his cousin Lot, who is basically the definition of a despicable human being, though the claim is made that he is the only righteous person in Sodom, a person who is willing to sacrifice his daughter to a violent mob and later has incest with them. If he's righteous, I'll take my chances with evil. And that story has ever been used to condemn homosexuality. Hello, maybe you want to read it first. Jacob has never known a healthy relationship or a happy family environment. And it will take a while for him to find a better model of living. And his future in-laws is not that model. Just as Isaac had 2 sons and he favored the older one, we see today that Laban has 2 daughters and he favors the older one. These disposable children, this one's good, this one can wait, this one can get what's left over. And then, when it's time to honor his promise, Laban tricks Jacob, just like Jacob tricked Isaac. The old, unhealthy family dynamics repeat themselves. Have you ever noticed that you've had a relationship that looked like another previous terrible relationship, that looked like another previous terrible relationship, that looked a lot like something in your childhood? That's not an accident. And until we learn how that works and stop it, the next one might not be that much better. But there's hope. That's the point. Not that Abraham did good, he didn't. And not that Isaac did good, he didn't. He survived, that was good. And not that Laban has done well. That's not the point. The point is, in spite of all the error and mistakes and heartache, there is resilience and there is hope and there is healing. We can see how the human spirit longs to be free, how hope rises from the ashes of despair, how a zest for living emerges from the tomb of heartache. What is lost is terrible, but what is left is miraculous. When pain is almost overwhelming, there remains a resilience that pain cannot take away. Yes, that women are considered property of men in the story is appalling. That Laban does not honor his word is unfortunate. That indentured servitude would be required for a chance to be with the person one loves is reprehensible. That poor Leah is forced to marry a man who doesn't love her and who will never really love her is very sad. And that Rachel and Jacob are kept apart for so long, also sad. There is injustice all the way around, but injustice doesn't get to have the last word. As long as it lasts, it doesn't get the last word. Jacob faces the difficulties at hand, and even when they seem to get worse before they get better, he chooses, say chooses, he chooses to face them. He chooses to believe that things can get better. We can always choose to see past the situation to better possibilities. Jacob will work and wait and endure any number of difficulties in order to marry the person he loves. Does that sound familiar to anyone in this room? Jacob's resilience and optimism outlasted the difficulty at hand and even proved stronger than unjust systems stacked against him. And isn't that the power of the tale? Isn't that the word of hope that our nation needs as it continues to move toward the righteous goals of marriage equality and fair immigration policies and cures and treatments and vaccines for diseases and economic justice for all instead of unearned privilege for an elite few? Jacob is slowly learning that he deserves to live a life of truth and hope and love and dignity, and that faith in his inherent worth and sacred value will sustain him until he discovers how to see and seize more possibilities in life. Later, at the end of this family tale, or towards the end of it, then Jacob becomes a patriarch and he favors his youngest child. He makes mistakes in reverse, but we'll get to that one day. Later, Jacob will wrestle with an angel, and he will not let that angel go until he gets a blessing. He's always known that he deserved to be blessed. He just didn't know how to receive the blessing that life wanted him to have. And so he tried to cheat his brother out of his blessing. He thought there was only one blessing to get, and so he thought he had to cheat someone or hurt someone to get his. And then later, he thought that he had to sell his dignity, that he had to be enslaved to get what was his. He didn't know that what is ours by right of consciousness cannot be taken from us. He didn't know that life wants to live itself through us abundantly. He didn't know that all of us are meant to be happy and joyful and safe and well. He didn't know that the blessings are for everyone and that it would not leave him out. So he went about trying to get his blessings the wrong way because he had never been shown a better way. And yet still he knew, and this is the grace, he knew that he deserved to be blessed, and blessings were seeking him out. And if he could just learn to see them, he could learn to seize them without hurting anyone else in the process. The day will come when he simply embraces the divine presence, that angel of God's presence, and refuse to let it go, refuse to settle for anything less than the good that life has in store for him. And that's what we're doing here today. That's what we're doing here every week. We are healing from the misfortunes of the past. We are healing from our mistakes and the mistakes of others. We are learning to reclaim our sacred value, and we are learning to refuse to give up our divine journey until we receive all that exists for us in the field of infinite possibilities. We may have started out in Abraham's messed up family, but we are becoming Jacob. We are becoming Israel. We are becoming those who have learned who we are. We are becoming those who will not let go until we receive what is rightfully ours without taking anything away from anyone else. We are those who are learning who we are and what we deserve, and who will not settle for anything less than life's very best. Because this is the good news. Amen.
When I was growing up, I thought my family was pretty normal. But as an adult, I can look back and I can see the dysfunction, the stuff that was there. And as an adult, I have a choice. I have a choice to make my life better. I don't have to own what's in the past. We say here so frequently, the past is the past. We don't have to own that. We have a choice. We can throw back what doesn't work, and we can embrace hope. We can embrace healing. We can embrace endless possibilities. And that's the truth. There are ministers coming forward now to anoint us with oil. We've heard so frequently there's no magic in the oil, and there's no magic in the person who's anointing us. But when that touch happens, you can be reminded that you are here. You are in a safe place that encourages us, that allows us to make choices that make better. We are better in our lives by these choices that we make. If this is meaningful to you, I invite you now to rise as you are able, to come forward as you will. We'll gather around this altar. We'll support each other. We'll hang on to each other. And we'll give that miracle of choice and of hope a chance in our lives. Please come.
Bless you.
and there's still some folks coming. There's always room here for anyone who wants to be part of this community. We welcome all wherever they are on their journey. And my friends, would you please pray with me? Holy One, God of our past, God of our future, we are thankful today for this community that gathers together to support one another wherever we are on our journey. We honor our past. We recognize that it is part of us, but we let it go. If it doesn't serve us, we let it go, and we welcome an opportunity to be here in this safe space where we can look forward with joy to our future and to so many infinite possibilities. And by faith, we call it done.
Jesus, according to the tradition, gathered with friends to share a meal in the midst of difficulty, as if to demonstrate that optimism is always available no matter what is going on, no matter what is happening, no matter how bleak things look. And so gathered with people, he demonstrates that when we gather together, when we share what we have, when we eat a meal, no matter what we are doing, we can experience the presence of God, because there's not a spot where God is not. And so Jesus, after that meal, took a piece of leftover bread and blessed it by giving thanks, because gratitude is the best way to bless anyone or anything. And then he broke the bread, as if to say, when you are feeling broken, remember there is divine wholeness beyond that experience. He said, take and eat and remember. And then he took Elijah's cup and he blessed it and he offered it to everyone, leaving no one out, saying, drink all of this, all of you. This is a cup of a new and everlasting covenant, a covenant that includes all people. And whenever you drink this, remember. Holy One, we give thanks that at this table, you are reminding us of our oneness with you and with one another. And so we give thanks for this, and we allow these simple elements, these simple symbols, to remind us of the profound truth that wherever we are, you are, and all is well. Amen. Sunshine Cathedral, we practice an open communion. And what that means is you don't have to be a member of this church or any church to receive the sacrament, just as you are. With whatever your beliefs or doubts may be, you are welcome to participate in this feast of unconditional love. My friends, these are the gifts of God for all the people of God.
Hello, I want to thank you for joining us for worship today here at the Sunshine Cathedral. Again, if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, please stop by and worship with us on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. If you'd like to find out more about the Sunshine Cathedral, about our resources, or about our books published by our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins, or if you'd like to make a donation to the Sunshine Cathedral, please visit us at www.sunshinecathedral.org. Until the next time, may God continue to richly bless you on your journey.
I have seen the light shining in the dark.